Hello, I'm Carl Ferreira. We're here at Pocasseet Ridge Conservation Area, and today we're going to look at some rocks that have been manipulated by Native Americans. We'll find some perch boulders, some balance boulders, drum rock. This entire area is replete with evidence of Native American stone structure creation, and should be an interesting little walk here today. So, serpent wall connected to another serpent wall. So it's interesting, I made a trip up to King Phillips Cave in Norton. Now in there is a large sentinel stone that appears to be an owl. And what I did notice is in this, it protects an area that appears to be a square with large boulders connected then by rocks of this size. Now, one of the theories is they would have these enclosures to keep the spirits in, which makes no sense at all. If the spirits can, how are you going to contain a spirit within this square? But the other theory is that since stones create energy, and you have large stones connected by other smaller stones, now what you've done is you've concentrated that energy. And when you stay within that square, now you are now the recipient of this stone energy and probably some telluric energy from the earth, which makes this a place of spiritual or physical healing by concentrating that energy, with the owl being the sentinel right near King Phillips Cave. So many of these areas in your readings that you'll do will say, oh, you know, this is to concentrate the spirit so we can't get out. That's a Western line of thinking, because for the rest of us, you cannot contain the spirit, whether it's our spirit or the spirit of the stone or the spirit of the tree, and it is free. And so that makes no sense at all. Concentrating the energy of the stones together, that makes sense.
So what do you think that is?
So it's just a boulder on top of a boulder. You know, I try to also view this from the skeptic's point of view. Yeah. Glacier could have left that.
Yep.
Probably not, but you know, I could easily see why someone would say, yeah, it could. One of the things I normally try to do is find some significant point on the rock, and then with my compass, and try to ascertain what it might be leading to. So as we'll find later, this creates a triangle with two other perched boulders that are in the woods there. So the central point would be, you know, where is this pointing? And essentially this rock points due north. So this could also be a cardinal rock, indicating that it'll show you the four directions. Obviously, if we're going north here, we're going south here. You know, obviously this corner is east and west. So at any one point in time, when someone came upon this rock, they would be able to know what direction to travel as it relates to where they want to be. So that's one of the things that we look for as we, you know, examine this rock. And clearly you can see it's highly unlikely that the glacial erratic would have lifted this stone and brought two stones under it to perch it in this particular place on this large piece of bedrock. So clearly this is man-made by some culture. And obviously if you're going to go through the effort of raising up this rock and perching underneath here, it clearly has some significance. Whether we can ascertain what that is or was, requires a certain degree of imagination and placing oneself back into time historically, and trying to get into the mind of the native as to why this would be of that type of significance. And many times that just eludes us. And
Well, the other thing is that, again, like the first rock we saw, here we are on a bedrock outcropping at the top of a knoll. It's not just an erratic rock somewhere. It's in a particular place.
it is certainly one of the high points.
The trees around here are maybe 50 to 75 years old, but if this area were treeless, which we can easily imagine, then it would be seen for some distance around.
Indeed, it would. This vegetation would not exist. But it's an amazing structure when you consider it. Cultures being able to move stones via sound, whether that be trumpets or flutes or drums. I mean, was that not Jericho, right?
Yeah.
That was
Brought the
bringing it
walls
down
tumbling down.
through the power of sound.
Yep. Who knows what powers were there? So your theory is that, or their theory is,
Giants were here preceding and concomitant with some of the old Native American cultures, and ultimately they were driven off. And
they were the ones who left the stones there.
or the larger thereof.
Yeah.
Being able to
Interesting.
manipulate them much easier than a man who's 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
supposedly hidden away in the Smithsonian, and I'll get you I have a couple of those books, I'll get you the names, are skeletons of men that are 8, 9, 10, 12 feet tall, and the newspaper clippings that go along with it, some of which are from Massachusetts,
Wow.
describing the length and breadth of the skeletons themselves.
No kidding.
But apparently the government doesn't want us to know that, or whatever.
This is
It's one theory. The other is, several strong men leveraging
yeah.
a large stone.
Yeah.
Stones moved in the winter via ice and sled is another theory as to how the larger stones were moved and manipulated.
Yeah.
So this perch boulder and the next one that I'll show you over there creates a triangle with the larger balance boulder that we saw alongside the trail. And so that's why I'm saying you take the apex of the triangle where it faces due north, and that becomes significant. This is an example of a keystone, and we see a couple of these in various locations. There's another one actually in the industrial park in Tiverton. And so what you see is, as we talked about earlier, a concentration of this energy where you have these two large stones with a large granite quartz component to it that concentrates the energy. That keystone connects the two large boulders. If one were to place themselves in here for meditation and or spiritual, physical healing, is something that the natives would do. This is what they would call a power point. We see a lot of these split boulders in the area behind the Swansea Town Hall. A lot of pudding stone split boulders. I've been told by a particular native that those were regeneration points. That's one of the areas that's the largest concentration of pudding stones. And from a Native American point of view, they said those stones were brought here by the powers of the West, the Wakinyan, the Thunder people, and the hawk, Shaitan, directed the Wakinyan as to where exactly to place those boulders to concentrate the energy. And so it's a power point, and in this area, that is the place where the pudding stones are most noted. We find them periodically in others, but Abrams Rock, Wildcat Rock, large pudding stone rocks, the numbers of which you won't find in other areas. It seems that certain areas, there are certain things that tend to predominate. So this Keystone is rare. I found the other in Tiverton, and I think there might be one other elsewhere that I can't recall at the moment. But it does concentrate the energy of the two large boulders. One would place themselves right on the Keystone, and that energy would be drawn to them in addition to the perch boulder. So you have a concentration of the energy of 4 stones here. So that one, this one, and the large one that is there. And you can, under here, you can clearly see there are 4 or 5 small rocks that are under here helping to balance this particular stone. Once again, unlikely that the glacial erratic would lift this stone in order to place these rocks here to balance this rock so it's immovable.
So your sense is that rock was placed on top of these?
Yeah, or the rock was already here and then lifted, the stones placed underneath to secure it in this position.